Hey, astrobaddies and daddies. This is Winestrology, the podcast for the witchy and the bitchy. Hello, astrobaddies and daddies. This is Winestrology, the podcast for the witchy and the bitchy. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Luini.
And today we are joined once again by another total astrobaddie. We are so excited for you all to meet her. Her name is Lisa Stardust, and she is a New York City-based astrologer, a tarot reader, and an author as well. Lisa has been practicing astrology for over 15 years, and her work has been featured on Teen Vogue, The Hood Witch, Cosmopolitan, and Refinery 29, just to name a few. So, Lisa, welcome to the show. And can you please tell us your big three for our listeners?
Sure. Before I do, I just want no hate. I'm a Gemini sun, a Libra rising, and a Sagittarius moon. And I was born on a full moon for everyone who's interested, the flower moon to be precise.
I love that. You're a full moon baby. I feel like that makes you so witchy and magical and just, I don't know, like.
You are born for this life.
Yes, you are.
You were born to inhale all of the world's information and then disseminate it all also with that Gemini sun and Sag moon.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that my goal in life is to understand. As long as I'm in the know, I'm okay. You know, good or bad information, I don't care as long as I get the total deets and the tea. Then I can move on.
We love the tea.
The psychology of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's always great to be, I think, in the middle of all this Mercurial and Jupiter energy. And, you know, as we said before, having a Libra rising always means that I have to fairly assess information. And, you know, with all that air energy, I always overthink and go back and forth in my head analyzing. So
that means when you tell us things, like, we're in the clear. We're like, okay, like, no fact checking here.
Yeah.
It's been done for us.
Yeah, I mean, we all make mistakes. No one's perfect. I don't want to, you know, make this grand statement that I'm never wrong. But I think, you know, we all make mistakes here and there. No one's perfect.
You're
you know,
close,
if
though.
I try, you know, that Virgo stellium of mine, I really try to be as concise as possible. But, you know, we all do what we can do.
I'm
So,
curious. Like, we all know that unfortunately, like, Gemini suns, like, they definitely do get a lot of hate and like harassment out of the zodiac sign. So, like, do you, like, I mean, like, I know it's like a running joke, but like, do you like really do see that like in social settings or like when you're having conversations centered around astrology? Do you find like sometimes people like to make jokes or poke at you, being like, "Oh, you're a Gemini, you're two-faced." Like, do you find that happens a lot?
I mean, I think that yes, but I also have dealt with it my whole life. My best friend, her father's a Gemini, and she always would say Geminis are crazy my whole life before, you know, I even was a certified astrologer. So I always kind of assess that Geminis just get a bad rep. And I kind of laugh about it too. You know, the thing about me is that I can be very social, very chatty, but then also when I get home, it's like lights out, you know, like TV show on, you know what I mean? I'm going to just chill and watch my shows or read my books. So, or play my games. So I get really into, you know, my other side. But I feel like for me, it's more about kind of those two different personalities where I can be social, but then it exhausts me and I'm ready to go to sleep, you know? So,
Well, I guess it's
but
also maintaining balance.
yeah, probably by more of my Libra rising. But, you know, I always say that we all have the capacity to lie, cheat, and steal. You know, like I said before, no one's perfect. So I just think that Geminis are just very clever. So sometimes we get away with more, but sometimes, we do things and it's not to be harmful, so sometimes I'm, pushed to tell a little white lie, but I really feel guilty doing that. So,
She's like, it's for the greater
Yeah.
good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had like my, I've had my Gemini moments when I was younger, so definitely. But as we all get older and mature, we just think to ourselves, who the fuck cares if we're like lying? I might as well just tell the truth, it's easier.
Honestly,
So,
very practical. Telling the truth is very practical because sometimes if you lie too much, then you have to keep track of those lies. And then you have to remember what lie you told to who. And then it becomes this whole thing. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
it's very stressful.
Yeah, because there's
It's
so
like
much.
I might as well just tell the truth, and whoever accepts me for
Yeah.
but sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. So when I tell the truth, people are like, this is such a weird story that it has to be true.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Geminis also keep receipts, so we have to watch out, because not only will we know where to find the information, but we keep track of it in our minds. So, we have to watch out, because when people involve us in drama, we have all of, the old convos that we can just produce.
Oh my God. You're like, Your Honor, for reference, this conversation on WhatsApp on June 2nd, 2017. And the person's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. It's, a mature Gemini is just like, I don't want to be involved in the drama. So I'm just going to remain silent. It's too much effort, to be involved in. Used to be a lot of fun when I was younger, but things change.
As I
Things
get older,
change.
I realize that because I used to think I'm sorry, Lisa. I was one of those people who was like shading Geminis for a really long time. But as I got older, I noticed that for the most part, like Geminis are cool in it. Most mutable signs are kind of like they're in drama kind of behind the scenes and they're kind of not masterminding the drama, but they're involved in an indirect kind of way. But the people who stay popping off, as far as I've noticed, are the cardinal signs.
Oh my God.
And I think it's telling that we're going into this Aries full moon that we're going to be talking about today because, like, cardinal signs have been staying in drama lately.
Yeah, I can see. I can see why.
Well, what sign are you both?
Oh, so I am an Aries sun, but I do have a Capricorn moon and rising.
And I am a Taurus sun, and I have an Aquarius moon and Pisces rising.
So it's really interesting because astrologically, there are no really major big transits that should be affecting the cardinal signs. But I've been noticing that a lot of cardinal signs are having an interesting time right now.
Yeah.
They're acting up or they're going through it.
Yeah,
Or
like
both.
they're acting out a lot. Cardi B, I'm talking about you.
Well, Aries are always gonna,
Yeah,
have
Aries are
their
gonna
have their
Aries.
hot heads. I mean, the one thing that I love about Aries is that they always, I'm always like, oh, you're a hothead, like you're stubborn, like you pop off, and every Aries says, yeah, I know that about myself.
They're like, yeah,
And they
and
love it. They own it. So that's great. Like I own the fact that Geminis have a bad reputation, but I also say to people are different depending on their charts, so you never know, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, for me, it's just, you never know. I mean, I've dated people that are Aquariuses that are really cool, and then I've dated Aquariuses that are really shady. So, you look at the whole thing and then you put it together. But I think that for Aries in particular, last, we got out of those eclipses. I think a year and a half ago, we had all those eclipses, and a year ago, even this spring, we had an eclipse in Aries, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things kind of affected all of the cardinal signs. And, they kind of put it on the back burner, I think, because, Aries had their sun in the North Node, and that's a lot of energy and focus on yourself. And that can create anxiety because that's a new place of really being, right? And then Libras are all about their sun was on the South Node. So they weren't really feeling seen. And now they're really beginning to get out of that cycle, and things are really beginning to happen for them. And Capricorns, I think, were just having an interesting time when it came to work or maybe their home life. And the same for Cancers. So there is sort of a lot of change that has been going on for cardinal signs. And also, Mars just entered Scorpio. So, and Mercury's entering Scorpio tomorrow. So, for all of those Aries out there, that's a lot of empowering energy. So now they're feeling powered, but just to know, like, we just came out of the Mars and Libra cycle. So, all the cardinal signs were feeling that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, that like passive aggressiveness, needing to, say how you feel, but not in the right way. I get it.
We're just ready to be free. You're ready to pop off. We're
Oh my
ready.
god. I did not realize that Mercury was entering Scorpio.
Oh,
So
oh,
it's
I,
gonna
I,
be like conjoined to Mars soonish.
oh yeah.
Yeah, because Mars is already in Scorpio. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of those people who's terrified of Scorpio energy just because it's so unpredictable to me. And I just always feel like they just know too much without being told things. And I don't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's I feel like I've gotten I don't know, I don't want to be mean. I hate being that person, but I mean, I remember like when I first got into astrology, I was like, "Oh my god, the most coolest mysterious sign. Like we love Scorpios. I want to date a Scorpio man." Like, "Oh my god, Venus in Scorpio." And now I've gone to this point where I'm just like, I think Scorpios are like a little overrated and I kind of just don't care anymore. I'm so sorry.
It was the
To
opposite, like astrological stereotype. Like everyone was talking shit about the Geminis and loving on the Scorpios, and now you're just like, I don't know, like Geminis are kind of interesting. Forget Scorpios.
Well, you know what too? The I have been like a little bit more social lately, and I'm kind of meeting new people. And even like last night, I had a friend's birthday, and I just headed off with somebody, and I've had the best conversations and banters with Geminis, and I was actually very shocked. Where I was like, "Oh my god, I keep forgetting like that you guys are just like funny and like confident and just like
And witty.
talkative and witty and like oh my gosh, I had like the best conversation with somebody last night, and then he was like, "Yeah, like I'm a Gemini," and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot. Like you guys are actually kind of
You're like,
great."
I should have known.
Yeah, so we're what? Like we're now Team Gemini, and we're like, no, I'm just not to say
I'm not
anti-Scorpio. No,
anti-Scorpio. I just like Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio. I'm like, there's some shit afoot. Like, I'm scared.
yeah, they do scare me.
It's in my ninth house, so I'm hoping it's nothing too major for me, like transit-wise. But I'm like, there is fuckery afoot,
Yeah.
and it's spooky
Well,
season.
my dad and my sister are Scorpios, by the way. So,
Oh, sorry.
My dad is
End
too.
call. Sorry.
My dad's
mom's
a Scorpio.
Pisces, and she has a Scorpio moon, and my sister's a Scorpio and has a Pisces moon, and my dad's a Scorpio and has an Aries moon. So for me, it was really interesting being the only air sign, and I'm like air, water, and earth in fire. So I have, all of the elements in my chart, but my family is predominantly like my mom's like water and air, and my sister and my dad are like water and fire.
Wow.
Water and
So,
fire sounds kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie.
It does sound intense.
yeah.
It sounds
What are
intense.
they like?
I always say the one thing about a Scorpio is that and I have a lot of Scorpio friends and I love them just because I grew up with that energy around me. So it seems very familial. But you just don't want to poke the bear when Scorpio's in a bad mood.
True.
So they're very great at setting boundaries with people, and I think that's wonderful. We can always learn from that.
As a Pisces rising who has no boundaries, period. Like, if a Scorpio can teach me how to set boundaries, they are welcome into my life because, yeah, that's a recurring lesson.
Oh my god, that's so
I
funny.
mean, it's always like what I say. My sister, on a bad day, when she's not in a good mood and people poke her, like she'll just yell. But then, when she's in a good mood, it's just life's nothing but a dream. But I think that's just how we all are. But I also think that Scorpios have that deeply emotionally intense personality, and they'll tell you once not to bother them, but they won't tell you twice. So after the warning, you get it.
Mhm.
So,
Straight to
but
the point.
also two Scorpios together in a family can be really intense because my sister and my dad were really into like sports and competing, and I just was doing my arts and crafts and wanted to just do my photography, and it was just a
Aw.
whole different vibe. So you know we all have our thing, but it's definitely interesting looking at family dynamics. So you always see how people learn to get along with people, but Geminis and Scorpios get along pretty well together just because the only sign that Pluto let into the only god that Pluto let into the underworld and nonstop, like coming and going, was the Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper is Mercury. So,
Oh.
I had no
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So that's why you always see this kind of, like Scorpios and Geminis like to joke around, and Scorpios and Virgos. Also, I think that we get the hustle like Scorpios do, so Capricorns as well. So that's why all of these oddly pairings are Scorpios, Capricorns, Geminis, and Virgos, just because we get the hustle. We like to do 80 things at the same time.
Multitasking
As
kings and
people say.
queens.
Yes. I mean, although, you can push a Gemini's limits or a Virgo's limits, but you can't push a Capricorn or Scorpio's limits. So.
Oh no, they will get you out of there with the quickness.
Yes, with my Cap, Moon, and Rising, like the boundaries are there, and I'm just like, don't even try it. Like, just don't, and I won't even give you a reaction. I'm like, because we're not doing that. Like I make sure I take preemptive measures so that I'm just like nobody is putting me in a bad mood, and I don't have to cuss anybody out. Like it's just
Yeah. I mean, I think Taurus is, even though at times when you see red, you do always like to forgive and move on. But I always say Tauruses are like the bull from the book Ferdinand. Did you ever read that when you
The
were a
little
child?
comics.
I always tell people this story, and every time I talk to a Taurus, just because it's a bull and the bull is slow to move, and all the bull wants to do is be in the bullfight, the bullpen, and he's not the fastest bull, and all of his friends want him to succeed. So then, when it's his time to be in the bullpen, his friend, who's a bee, stings him in his butt so that he'll run and be really fast and win, and he does. So basically, when Tauruses see red, or when they are something happens, like watch out. They're just, you guys are just on to, you're on it.
Listen, I feel bad whenever people talk about Taurus as being super slow moving and whatnot because I have my Mars and my Mercury in my first house, and things being slow is like my biggest pet peeve. Like,
oh
I walk really fast. Sometimes I talk a little too fast, but I'm always like on the move, and I love multitasking and being able to accomplish and complete multiple things in one go.
Mhm.
So whenever people are like, what is your biggest pet peeve? I'm like, slow walkers. There's nothing that aggravates my spirit like walking behind people who are just like, I'm like, move your ass. And especially the ones who are walking in a group, but you guys fan out and there's like 5 people
Oh my god, I
that
hate
are
when people
just
do that in a
walking
mall.
so slow.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. I'm like the most impatient Taurus you'll ever meet, but I have a lot of Aries energy in my chart as well, so that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah. You're
Well,
part-time
slow
Aries.
walking is annoying to do. Or when people are just not looking and they're just crossing the street on their phones and you're driving, it's just like, why? Don't do that.
Legit. It's like, what is your problem?
You don't love yourself.
You don't love other people either. I was like, you just
I mean, I guess we all do it, but it's really interesting being, looking at people and being like, why are we all on our phones crossing the street? This is madness. And everyone's walking so slow or,
And
that's
just out
true.
of
it's
it.
like they just don't care.
I'm always scared. I'm always on my phone, but I'm always so scared. It's like one of my hidden fears that I'm going to be crossing the street on my phone and someone's going to like hit me with their car or their bike or something because I wasn't looking. Does that mean that I don't do it anymore? No, it's just like something in the back of my mind as I'm doing this thing I know I'm not supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is scary. I feel like I've made the effort now where, like, if I'm out, I know it's so, like, tempting just, like, be on your phone. But, like, I don't know. Like, maybe, like, this wave of paranoia comes where I'm like, I just need to be aware of my surroundings,
True.
especially in Toronto because people are wild in out here.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna listen to my music and I'm just gonna twiddle my thumbs. Like I would rather do that than like be on my phone. Sometimes I feel like that's the safer thing.
And then like look up and have somebody crazy in your face
Yeah.
because you were in your phone.
Well, I mean, I also get why people want to be on their phone because the one rule that they say in Toronto, I don't know if they have this in New York too, but they're just like, just don't make eye contact with anybody because then in a crowd, like a sea of people, if you make eye contact with one crazy person, then they're locked in on you and then they will start talking to you or making conversation with you. And you're just like, I put myself in a situation all because I looked up from my phone. So I don't. So yeah.
Well, with Uranus moving in and out of Gemini, I think that that's going to be what we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
The being more attached to our devices. So, I mean, now they're making the glasses, I think, for Apple.
Oh, yes. What are they? Oh, I forgot. I've heard of it, but
What did they do?
well, there's the Meta glasses, right? Which kind of already like record, I think.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know, but I guess they're going to be making like an Apple version of that, right, Lisa?
Yeah, we can check our emails on it. It's going to be crazy.
That's so much. That's too
Yeah.
much.
Uranus and Gemini.
Oh my God. Would you be interested in that or you're just like absolutely not?
I feel like we're all going to have to move towards,
Yeah.
all of these things. I'm not afraid of technology. I think that we have to embrace it. I just think that a lot of the times people misuse it and I think that they rely on it for more than it can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that we all should embrace technology.
Okay. That's good advice. Because some people are afraid of technology, like really, like how do you feel?
I don't think I'm afraid of it. I just think that I want to have a balance because
Mm-hmm.
remember in the summer I deleted Twitter or whatever it's called now from my phone
Oh, okay.
just because I felt like I was doom scrolling a lot and spending way too much time online. And I still kind of do feel like I do that a lot. And I'm very attached to my phone in the sense where I feel kind of panicked without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that part of it. They're very addictive. And it makes me uncomfortable in that respect, but I acknowledge how technology is so helpful just on a day-to-day basis
Mm-hmm.
for anybody, right? My thing is just like we're such a culture of excess that nothing's done in moderation anymore. So that aspect of it is what scares me about all of these advancements and these newer gadgets that are going to do a bajillion other things
Mm-hmm.
when we already have so much that we rely on electronically.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's all about like finding that balance because
Yes.
yeah, like you're like nobody feels good about themselves when they're just like scrolling on their phone and then it's 3 in the morning and then you have work the next day and then you just like dropped $200 on something that you didn't need because
Because I was on an ad in your phone and like on like some social media website that you were
yeah.
on.
I'm like, I have no business spending this much money at 2 in the morning. Absolutely not. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. When I was in San Francisco, they had those self-driving cars,
I've
and
never
like
been in one. Have you been in one?
no, but it drove by us in
Oh.
front of my sister's apartment. And my mom was like, "Oh, that's the Uber," and I'm like, "That's not the Uber." And it just drove by, and she was gonna go in it. I'm like, "Do you want to go in a self-driving car? Because you can totally take that if that's what you're into." But I think is a little too hard to get used to.
Yeah, well, that sounds scary. Like a
Yeah, no,
self.
no, no.
Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no.
But what would scare me, I'd be like, it's not. There's a person in there, but it's like a ghost. I'd be like,
I know. Yeah,
it's a ghost driving me.
yeah.
There's no way.
My mind would. That's how we would interpret and like cope with the situation we're in right now. My brain would be like, it's a ghost.
Yeah, or they're like wearing
Poltergeist.
an invisible cloak or whatever that thing was in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Well, my sister won in one because it was the only thing available one night, and it was interesting. She said that she couldn't get used to it.
Was she scared? I'd be scared.
I wouldn't say scared. I would say that it's a weird feeling because we're so used to things a certain way. And it's just weird to not have anyone in the front seat, or it's a weird, vibe.
Okay.
Yeah. That is scary.
I'm not loving it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
thank God I haven't been in one, so I don't think I would.
No. I was like, give me a surly, like, taxi driver or, like, Uber dude any day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to get into our wine for the episode, Nicole?
Yes. Okay. We have a non-alcoholic wine today. So that worked out. Today we are going to be drinking, like I said, a non-alcoholic wine, guys. This is a German Sauvignon Blanc from Good Vines. This is a wine that was gently de-alkalized. Alkalized? Did I say that right?
De-alcoholized.
Okay, thank you. Under vacuum. So this is supposed to have a soft texture with a slightly sparkling finish. It has aromas of green peppers and freshly mown grass. So I do hope, like, I don't know, I was a little bit concerned when I saw for the notes grass. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's gonna be herby and earthy. I don't know. I mean, they
Probably
did say
herbaceous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did say for the notes mildly fruity, so kind of happy about that. So it's supposed to taste fresh and spicy. I'm excited to try something new on the show. And can we be honest? I drank a little bit last night, so I don't think my stomach can handle.
Honestly, I was the happiest when we connected with Lisa, and she's just like, sober episode idea. I'm like, absolutely, because it gets to be a lot. Like, we love
Yeah.
drinking for this show, and we love trying new wines for you guys and giving you our very amateurish takes on the flavor profiles and everything else. But having a non-alcoholic wine on the episode was definitely a little blessing in disguise. And I love Sauvignon Blanc, so I'm very excited to see what the de-alcoholized take on one is going to be.
This was also from Sober Market that you picked
Yeah.
up. They have a few locations in Toronto and I think 2 in Winnipeg. And it is a storefront that sells all non-alcoholic like ciders, beers, cocktails, wines,
Spirits.
everything.
Yeah.
Like
Alcohol free.
absolutely.
It's a really cool concept store.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely want to check out a shop. They have, I don't know, and like from the pictures that I've seen, like the shop looks absolutely amazing. Oh, wait, you were in one. How was the shop? How
Yeah.
was the vibes?
It's gorgeous in there. Everything is really clearly labeled, so it was really easy for me to find the wines. But like I said, they do more than just non-alcoholic wine. They have spirits, cocktails, beer, and everything was super colorful as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
I loved. I love, me, I love an aesthetic, and it was well organized. It's pretty big. I went to the location on Richmond downtown, but like Nicole said, they have a few locations around the city. So we'll definitely be linking you to those. If you are somebody who does indulge on the podcast but doesn't drink, this episode is for you because, like we mentioned a few episodes ago, wine is definitely about bringing people together. And we want everyone to participate and feel comfortable regardless of if they drink or not. So,
Well said. I love that. Okay, so are we going to pour up?
yes.
Okay. She doesn't look like a grass. She does look, like a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, she does. Smells really good. It smells more like a Riesling, if I'm being honest.
Yes, you're right. I agree. Okay, cheers.
Cheers. It's really good.
She's good.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know why I was so skeptical. This is good. It does have like a nice fizzy, like the sparkling finish a little bit. It's kind of subtle. It's not over the top.
Yeah, it's effervescent for sure.
I don't know. I feel like it tastes a little citrusy to me. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of lemon, a little bit of pear.
It's so funny because typically, I'm sure you guys know, Sauvignon Blancs are very fruit forward, generally tropical fruits, especially if you are dealing with like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. This wine, like I said, to me on the nose, it was giving Riesling right away. I'm like, okay, I got like green apple, probably pear here, definitely orchard fruits, but on the palate, definitely citrusy. I think green pepper, like green bell pepper is a good descriptor as well. I'm not getting the grassy note that they were talking about, but Nicole did mention before we started recording that it was recommended that we open the bottle and let it unfold.
Yeah.
So let it aerate for a bit, which we did. I think that may have played a part on the notes that we're getting now that we started drinking it. So maybe the grassy note was a little bit more prominent beforehand. But this is really good.
Yeah,
This is delicious.
It leans a little bit more sweeter. So yeah, for any of our Winestrology listeners, if you like astrology and if you don't drink, like go check out Sober Market, get yourself a nice bottle of non-alcoholic wine.
Good Vines Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy we're doing this. Why do I feel so healthy? I feel so good about myself.
Because you're not going to be drunk in half an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we have Lisa on the show today to discuss full moons, and we are recording this just like on the precipice of the upcoming full moon in Aries, which is also the hunter's moon. So I'm always
It's actually the harvest moon.
This is the harvest moon?
Yeah.
Why did I think it was the hunter's moon?
So apparently, I'm going to clear up some internet drama.
Oh my god, please
yes.
do.
Oh.
I always base things like the names of the moons because they're interchangeable depending on what the farmer's almanac says. Okay. So I think this year what happened was, we had 2 new moons in a month. We had the black moon at the end of August, and then we had the eclipse in September. And basically, we had that eclipse as well. So, they're quite, the names of them are interchangeable. So technically the full moon that is closest to the fall equinox is called the harvest moon. But typically we do call the full moon in Aries the hunter's moon.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit confusing this year. but it's okay if you say harvest moon or hunter's moon. I mean, it's the full moon in Aries. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
Same
it is what
energy.
it is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be like a Virgo stellium stickler. So
No, we love that actually.
Yeah, because girl, if you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have known because everything that I've read did say Hunter's Moon, and I was so excited because I'm like, ooh, Hunter's Moon in Aries. That seems so on brand.
But it's the harvest.
Harvest does
yeah.
feel more fun.
Yeah, it does, but it does feel fit like fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. So this is our first full moon following the autumn equinox. So a lot going on here.
Yes, because it's the super full harvest moon in Aries, right, Lisa? That feels like a mouthful.
Yeah. So we're starting the super moons are beginning tomorrow. And we're having a super moon trilogy this year. So there's going to be a super moon during November's full moon and also during December's full moon. And when there's a super moon, it just means that the moon is in closer proximity to Earth than it normally is. And the term is called perigee, I think. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but the astronomical term is perigee. And that just means that things are a little bit tighter in distance. And the moon looks bigger and brighter to us earthlings, and we feel things more intensely from the earth, I mean, from the moon, because, the moon is the gravitational pull of the tides and it controls the water, and we're made of 60% water. So these super moons make us feel things a little bit more intensely. So a lot of people are feeling their emotions more or just making moves and taking action because the full moon is in Aries. Now, full moons just mean that the sun and the moon are opposing each other exactly, and that the moon's illumination is glowing up Earth. So, when we have a full moon, it's really a time of clarity, discovery, emotional growth, understanding ourselves, seeing things that we haven't seen before, gaining wisdom. And it's, the end of the lunar cycle. So pretty soon we'll be starting again and, creating our new visions for the month ahead.
When it comes to full moons, I mean, like, I would say, I don't know, I would say, like, they kind of have a negative connotation, um because whenever people think of the full moon, they're just like, like anything that's bad that happens during the full moon. Or there are some people who are just like, yeah, like this person snapped on me because of the full moon. Or like, when people are like into spooky stuff and they're like, the spirits are out on a full moon, this is when the veil is the thinnest, or something silly like that, right? So I feel like, I mean, like, overall, like, the full moon, I just think, has a lot of power, a lot of energy. I think sometimes that scares people. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm one of those people where, I've had my girlfriends be like, "Do you want to go out tonight?" And I'm like, "Actually, it's a full moon and this is a time of like rest for me." When I think of the full moon, it's staying in and resting and like trying to you know, get rid of things that no longer serve me, like try to be more intentional. So, I don't know. I feel like sometimes when people hear eclipse, or they hear like full moon, or they hear super moon or harvest moon, I think they get a little freaked out. So I don't know. I just want to like make sure that our listeners are feeling like it's not a scary time. Like, this is
I
a time
mean,
for rest.
eclipses are very unpredictable,
That, yes,
but
for
at the
sure.
same time, if you're not doing anything bad and just living life, it would just be a bad day.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a friend who doesn't believe in astrology, and I always ask them what happens during these eclipses to them. And they just said, oh, everyone was really annoying at work, but it's okay. I'm going to sleep when I come home. So I think that it's really how we deal with it. And I think that if there's something in our life that needs to be changed, that's going to change. I also think that full moons are, traditionally people would really look at the moon to tell what time of year it is. And a lot of the times in different cultures, they celebrate the full moon. So I was actually talking to my father the other day, and there's a Jewish prayer that they say during the full moon. And he was telling me about it, and that, all the most religions align their holidays with the lunar cycle because that's how people used to tell time. So, full moons, people would use that time as a moment to go hunting in the forest or to understand what they needed to do to kind of get ready for the weeks ahead. So, we shouldn't be really fearful of full moons. A lot of it has to do with superstition and actual things that have happened. So, I believe the term lunatic technically means lover of the moon,
Oh,
and that actually isn't a bad thing to say. You're a lunatic. Luna is the moon. Tick means, it's put it together. It means lover of the moon. Um, I think that a lot of superstitions throughout the years came into place. I know that more people go into labor during full moons than any other time of the year. And I've actually asked doctors and nurses if it's true, like throughout the past several years, and they said it's true.
Oh,
oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, more people have accidents during full moons, but the nurses and doctors always say like that could just be a coincidence. Maybe it's because it's a full moon that like they maybe it
everyone's
just
psyched
they
out.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they're just looking at the moon and they have an accident. But a lot of things happen, during full moons that are true, and also a lot of things are superstitions. So I always thought that people weren't apt to give surgeries during full moons. Doctors are like, no, if someone needs a surgery, like we're doing it no matter what it is. So, but I also feel that the reason why people might be a little bit fearful of the full moon is because the moon is a lot of feminine energy, and it could just be like a very heightened time of, that, the goddess energy, and, a really emotional time.
That makes sense
So,
Yeah.
because even just like what you said about the term lunatic, and obviously more during more recent times it has a negative connotation, but it really just makes me think about how literally anything that was deemed feminine or aligned with womanhood was demonized and still is stigmatized to some extent.
Hmm.
So, of course, like during a time where maybe emotions are a little bit more heightened or volatile or expressed a little bit more passionately, if the connotation is like, oh, well, this is hysterical feminine behavior, then yeah, people are going to have reservations around it. So, it makes sense that
Yeah.
everyone feels like a little bit tense or on edge whenever they know that there's a full moon coming up, because I think it really tells you a lot about their own kind of feelings towards the moon and stuff like that, or anything esoteric that seems is or is deemed a little bit more feminine.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like Nicole, I totally am one of those people who when it's a full moon, I'm just resting. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
sleeping, I'm taking naps on naps, or like watching movies or watching something and taking a nap. It's not my most productive cycle of the month, but it's definitely the most rested and calm.
Yeah, I like tone it down a notch, and I don't know, I just like to kind of stay in and just like focus on me, and like yeah, I'm going to stay in and I'm going to have a cup of tea and like read a book and like cozy up in bed with a candle. Like I'm going to go more inward. But I don't know, that's just me. How do you feel when it comes to like full moons in general, like Lisa? Like do you find like you're like that too as well? Like your energy kind of changes, or you like to like treat yourself differently during the moon phases?
Well, new moons completely like zonk me out. So I'm always exhausted during new moons.
Wow.
Um, so I know like the day before a new moon, I'm exhausted. Like I can't keep my eyes open. And, full moons really, to me, I always try to do something nice for myself, like take a bath or just relax when there's a full moon, because I think that a lot of people can get really impassioned and heightened, and some people can overreact to situations. So I try to kind of focus on myself. But, you know, that's what the full moon in Aries wants us to do, because Aries is all about the self, and it's a warrior sign. So a lot of people get really defensive, and you don't have to tell me twice to not touch a hot stove. So, you know,
But yeah, so like you were saying, the
Super full
full
harvest
harvest
moon.
moon, yes, is in Aries, and in Libra season 2 as well. So when I think of like Aries, I obviously think of like fiery, bold energy, like a sense of urgency, movement. I mean, like the motto for Aries is like I am, but now we're navigating this energy like through Libra season. So,
Which is the energy of the other.
yeah, relationships, the other. So yeah, how would you like for our listeners, like how would you recommend us navigating like this energy, or like interpreting this energy?
I would say that I always, because I do have a Libra rising and my seventh house is ruled by Aries. So I always say that it's really important to look at the signs that Venus and Mars are in during this full moon. So Venus is in, because Venus, the sun in Libra, Venus is the planetary ruler of Libra. So Venus is now in Virgo, and Mars is now in Scorpio, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, and the moon's in Aries. So we kind of have to look at the way that these planets relate to each other. So, we're focusing on people being overly critical of partners and friends and even themselves, and really trying to be level headed. But then we also have that Scorpio energy, which is all about having, deep emotions. So I would say that, a lot of people, what I'm seeing is a lot, their fears are coming to light and they're dealing with them. Just because Scorpio isn't afraid to deal with, you know, our phobias and get deep in our shadow selves. So I think that everyone's just sort of, in my opinion, really beginning to accept themselves on a deeper level. Also, I would say that this energy, like the up, like the like the pull between the Venusian and Mars energy, has really just made people want to play more by the rules, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm seeing that people are just understanding things on a deeper level, but also really trying to resolve them in a very pragmatic and rational way.
Hmm. Hmm.
We love that
I mean, that's just what I've been
embodying.
seeing. I mean, everybody's different, everyone has their own story, but I think that compromise is something that's really important. And it's interesting because a lot of people always say Libras are always ones to compromise. But I've always seen, Libras really kind of put their foot to the pedal of the metal when they're being pushed one way. They go the opposite way, to sort of create that balance. I would say that, more Virgo energy is more about creating balance, fairness. So, you know,
I
Virgos really like to kind of have things be copacetic as well. So I would say like that's what we're dealing with now.
I think people really underestimate Libra energy a lot of the times, because I think out of the cardinal signs, they're probably the more agreeable ones and the more like socially aware
Mm-hmm.
of themselves in regards to being around other people and cooperating and stuff. But they're still a cardinal sign, so there is still that degree of, you know, putting yourself putting yourself forward, or like coming forward as somebody who does have leadership qualities, but you're not a tyrant like an Aries might be. It's more of like an iron fist and a velvet glove type of vibe, where you're still having a lot of say and knowing exactly what you want, but being able to attract more flies with honey versus, you're making people want to do things for you. That's where the charming nature of the sign comes in, because they are Venusians and they're always going to be able to kind of attract their favored outcome.
Mm-hmm.
They're still going to go for things, but just not in an outwardly aggressive way, I find.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. It's funny too because like with that energy too, especially like going into Libra season, like we have Mercury entering Scorpio, so it's just interesting just to see like having Libra season, but then our conversations might feel, a little bit more intense or like,
Spicy.
yeah, I like that word, spicy. A little conversations will feel more spicy, a little bit more deeper than usual, maybe more intentional, maybe not as lighthearted. But then when I think of someone that's like, I don't know, when I think of Libra season, I think of balance and lightheartedness and more calm. I don't know.
Well, here's a little bit of astrological tea from my Virgo stellium is that Libra is between certain degrees. Libra and Scorpio are via combusta, which means that they have like that very fiery, passionate energy. So between 15 degrees Libra and 15 degrees Scorpio, except for 22 degrees Libra, which is a very fortunate fixed star, it's in what we call the via combusta zone. So that means that it takes on this very passionate type of unpredictable energy.
Mm.
So, you have to be careful. If you're born then, my sister's born during the Via Combusta Scorpio. So, while she is someone who is very stable and pragmatic, she does have that, Scorpio fierceness sometimes. So,
Lisa's telling us her sister can pop off.
Yeah.
She's like, don't let her
all
see
Scorpios can
you.
pop off. I don't want to say it's just her. All Scorpios, like I said before, like you poke a Scorpio the wrong way, no matter who they are, and they're gonna pop off.
It's
But
true. They pick and choose if they're going to sting you or not.
true, but they give you a warning before, So
Wise.
they say like, just stop it. I'm not in the good mood, and then it's like a countdown. You do it again, and you get stung.
Oh, you're done for.
That's what, like, it's poisonous.
But
That's it.
Scorpios always feel bad after they sting you. They feel bad.
Really? That
But they
I have
don't
such a different
apologize.
I have such a different experience.
Really? My
What?
sister and my dad always apologize. They just,
Aww.
once they get in their moods, they get in their moods.
But also again, it could always be. It depends on the birth chart, right? Because your sister has, like, I mean, like if they have other water signs too in their chart too, like
Her sister's a
Pisces,
Pisces moon.
Pisces moon.
And she has a lot of Scorpio in her chart, so
Oh wow, so she's heavy Scorpio.
yeah. But I feel that, Scorpios all get, we all get in our moods, so no one's perfect.
Yeah, we love each sign equally.
We do?
No, no, I'm just trying to be.
No, I got it. Everyone's different. And
Yeah.
the more I learn, the more I'm starting to unravel my biases that were formed when my astrological knowledge was a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more amateurish. I mean, I'm still judging some.
I mean, it's fun, but then I know, like, as I went through my astrology journey, then you will always realize, like, you have a little bit of all the signs in you anyway. So
Exactly.
there's no point in chirping them, like, because you're chirping yourself in some degree, right?
Yeah, I'm understanding that now.
Yeah, yeah. So it's fun to like poke a little fun, but yeah, like you're right.
It is. I think one of the things that we loved about your content, Lisa, and the fact that you have written astrology articles and books and everything is just the fact that it all started kind of like from horoscopes, right? And I feel like a lot of people still don't know exactly how to read their horoscope. And I say this with complete humility because I didn't start reading my horoscope properly until about a year ago or so, a year and
Mm-hmm.
a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to realize, like, okay, like based on your birth chart and everything, you have to start reading the horoscope for your rising sign instead of your sun sign, which
Mm-hmm.
was like news to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Okay. But you said like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Oh. But like when you would read horoscopes,
Yes.
did you feel like now that you're comparing reading your sun sign horoscope and then your rising, do you feel like there was a difference or they both kind of like applied? I don't know. Is there one that you feel like you relate more to?
Well, now that I only read for my rising sign, I feel like it definitely feels more in tune with what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
like because it'll tell you, okay, like if you have a Pisces rising, for example, this full moon is in Aries, so it's going to be hitting my second house, so it's like, okay, money matters and your values become more heightened for you, etc. um yeah, it never quite fit when I was reading the sun sign, but I was kind of just like, oh, whatever. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Reading with the rising does make a difference.
I think my favorite, I think one time I read Lenny Letter. They used to do nihilist or something like that horoscopes, and they were kind of the same for each horoscope. It was really funny. Like Scorpio, like there was an eclipse today. Scorpio, don't worry, shit's gonna get crazy. Sagittarius, shit's gonna get crazy. But yeah, I think that it's best to read for your rising sign just because there's a method that we use to write horoscopes, which is called derived houses. So it would start with your rising sign, but I always say you can read for your sun, rising, or moon, see what kind of relates to you. There is no right or wrong way to read a horoscope. It's just what speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very diplomatic with my Libra rising. Whatever makes the most sense to you, go for it. And I think that's the most important. So if your rising sign is accurate, that is accurate. That's how we write them. But, if you want to read your sun sign too, go for it too. Maybe combine them all together and tell a whole story.
For yeah, I don't know. For horoscopes, I'm kind of like so curious what like the method is for that. Like are we just like looking like our transits for the day or like for the week? Like how do you go about it, Lisa? And I mean like even for this super full harvest moon in Aries, what I would normally do in something like this is like I would look at where the moon falls in my house and like kind of see how that would affect me and like how that energy would play out. But yeah, like I think like our listeners are very curious. I mean, like I am too. Is like what would be like the method for that? Like like writing a horoscope, or if somebody was to look in for themselves, like how would you start that?
Well, writing a horoscope, I usually map out all the transits for the week.
Wow.
If I'm writing a weekly, or if it's a month, a monthly, or if it's a daily, the dailies. And basically I write where all of the moon's movement through the chart, through the houses, and then the transits as well. So you're kind of telling a story about what's happening. So let's just say the full moon is occurring in your 10th house and Mercury is entering in your 8th house. Let's just say that, right? So I'd be like, well, maybe you'll get that raise that you were hoping for, because that would be something that would make sense. Or let's just say the full moon is in the first house and Mars is entering the 7th house, right? So I'd be like, maybe you can not be so aggressive with other people, focus that energy back on yourself, or not, try not to project your feelings onto others. So, I mean, for me personally, I'm always looking to tell a story for each zodiac sign that makes sense.
Mm. That does
Even
sound
when
that
you're
does sound like a
pulling
lot of work.
tarot even when I'm writing tarot scripts as well, I'm always looking for each, like a story for each sign.
Wow.
So, yeah, like if you pull like the 3 of Cups, like the 5 of Pentacles, and, the High Priestess, it's like, maybe you should know better than to go out spending a lot of money and partying, try to save your money for a rainy day or go out on a budget or ball in on a budget. So that's how I would interpret them and explain it more in a sense that it makes sense to me and to others.
Okay, I kind of like that. I mean, this sounds really bad for me to I don't know, I feel bad admitting this as someone that like is an astrology like lover. Yeah, I think I want to start practicing more reading my transits. I actually don't, and I feel like I should. I do it based off of like I don't know what will come off of my algorithm, or like if I'm just like if I know like for example like Mercury's entering Scorpio, like sure I'll read into that and how that affects me, but I'm always like I want to start looking more into the future now. Like how do I look into the week? How do I look into the month? So yeah, I guess I should just be turning that clock to see where my plans would be looking every day and how they're going to be affecting my houses.
Yeah, but I also always say that you have to have a fine line between astrology and life.
Hmm.
And with anything, with anything. I love astrology. I love my clients. I love writing horoscopes. I love connecting with people. And I think it's a great way to understand the world and ourselves within the world and how we relate to other people. However, I always say that there is a fine line, like we can't, you have to also just, there are times I don't look at transits and I just do things just because I think that it's also important to live your life. So having that fine line is really important as well.
That's really good advice to have because I mean like we're all human, and like I find myself being stuck in my ways like that where I'll like try to read into a transit, like read in my horoscope, or a few years ago when I was trying to connect more with tarot and like my tarot deck, I had a really hard time reading my cards because if I felt like I didn't like what I saw, I would just try to reshuffle the deck. Or I would have like give myself anxiety for the day. And I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to see what the energies are and then just live your life and just go out there and not overthink it, because I totally agree. Like there needs to be a fine line, a balance, as we should say, because I was lacking that for like a really long time. I hate being that person, but I really was.
Yeah. It's like on Tuesday, Mercury and Pluto square off. So I would suggest to people, people might be projecting stuff onto you. People might be involving you in triangular situations. There might be power struggles. Like knowing that going into the day, you don't have to. You can choose to just not give into that energy, or you can choose to use it to know that everyone's having a weird ass day, so maybe just don't even go there, and I think that's really important to note so that you can begin to focus on yourself. So, that's why I think astrology is great, because it's a tool to understanding, people and the universe and how we connect to everything. And I always say, maybe don't push on Tuesday,
Hmm.
like maybe chill. Maybe you're going to get a little antsy because things aren't getting done, or you feel that people aren't being direct with you. And I would say maybe not confront them on that day, or maybe wait a few days to have a cool conversation with them, a chill convo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's probably the best way to utilize the energy.
Yeah, and then also like don't try looking for it. Like it's okay if like maybe you read one thing in your horoscope and you're like today ends up being uneventful, and like that's not a bad thing either. Sometimes I feel like I would read something and I'm like, now I have to look out for anybody that looks at me wrong because they're gonna try to start shit. And I'm like and I'm just like, no, it's okay. Like, if it don't read into it too much too.
Well, also, things are quite literal because I think that this last eclipse aspected some planets in my chart, and I was like, ooh, like getting a little bit nervous. And I think, the eclipse before wasn't really doing anything, and that's what got me. So I always say sometimes, you know, I mean, both eclipses were exhausting, but that total eclipse in Pisces was just a lot. And I think that a lot of people were feeling that one too.
Hmm.
But it's interesting to know that, everyone was like, what's going on? Everything's just so crazy and chaotic. And I think that, you know, sometimes we just have to say sometimes unexpected things happen, and that's just life. We can prepare for it as much as we can, and astrology is a great way to prepare for it. But, you also have to leave, 1% for free will.
And honestly, if you know everything that's going to happen before it happens, that's just boring.
Yeah.
Who wants to live like that?
Yeah.
Spontaneity is really the spice of life.
Yeah. You can't predict life sometimes.
No, I don't. Even if it's bad, I don't always want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, then finding that balance is like super important because then you would get too obsessed and too sucked into it. I mean, I went through that phase where I was like,
I find I do it a lot more when things aren't going well,
mm-hmm,
because I'm just like, okay, like things are really shitty right now. I really need a win. And then I got super hyper fixated on my transits and stuff like that. I don't really check my transits that often, but
mm-hmm,
I notice that when I become hyper fixated on them is when things are not going well and I'm trying to gain like some semblance of control over what the situation is currently,
yeah,
by being able to be like, okay, like is there any day that I have upcoming where something major happens in a good way,
mm-hmm.
like do I have something to look forward to, or will this misery never end?
No, don't say it like that. Do you so like I know you obviously you write quite a bit of horoscopes, but then so do you ever make time for yourself to make sure that you're also looking for yourself in your transits, Lisa?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that, the one thing that I always pay attention to is the major transits, and I always look at the daily transits and I say, oh, that makes sense. Um, I always like to gauge things, but, because I, have the power of foresight with astrology, I'll know, like I'm talking about Tuesday during that Mercury and Pluto square. It's like maybe I'll just kind of stay in my lane,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on whatever I need to focus on and not really get into things. And if people give me attitude, I'll just ignore it because that's just what happens sometimes. No one's perfect, and I get it. We're all going through the same type of vibe, and energy is contagious. So sometimes I choose to not react and to give people kindness because I think that's very important to break the cycle and to just, let them know everything's going to be fine. It's just a day out of your life. That's crazy.
That's such good advice, especially for my Aries son, because sometimes I will look for confrontation. But then you're right, like nobody's perfect, and sometimes you just can't feed into that energy because you'll be so much more happier at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I take things really personally. I have a Libra rising. My Venus is in Cancer, and I think that conflict is something, we all have to deal with conflict. We live in a intense world these days. But I think that understanding that I can't control what people do, but I can control how I react. And if I want to cry about something, I can cry about it. I'm allowed to. If I want to be upset about it, I can. If I want to hold a grudge, I can. I think that we all have to give each other and ourselves a lot of space to feel our emotions and to embrace them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good advice.
It is. Again, with
And
the
to respect other people's emotions as well,
Yeah.
and demand that they respect ours. I think that reciprocity is really important, especially in relationships that, like, I would say for me, it's just understanding that I feel might be different than the way you feel about a situation is fine,
Mm-hmm.
and just to be like, I respect your feelings on that. I get it, and you know, I think that's vital to as well.
It's important to be kind to other people, everybody, because somebody else might have transits that are worse than yours.
yes.
That's why.
It's like you don't know her life, you don't know her
Yeah,
transits.
you don't
Be
know what she's going.
kind.
Yeah, you don't know what's happening in her first
I
house
mean,
right
it's
now.
real. You don't know. Yeah.
You don't know what's happening in her seventh house. Maybe she's going through her Saturn return right now.
Oh my
I
god.
mean, it's really funny because we before the podcast began, we were talking about, for say, tell all the listeners out there. I feel like a DJ from the '90s. To the listeners out
Oh,
there,
sorry.
um, we were talking about our old jobs, and I was telling a story about being, a server. And I remember one day I was waiting on this woman, and she was so incredibly rude. And it just was like enough, right? I'm running around schwitzing in the hot Washington, D.C. summer. And I'm like, I can't, I'm working the patio. So, D.C. summers are pretty hot and muggy and humid. And I'm working outside and running around. And this woman ordered a hot soup, and it wasn't hot enough for her, and a hot tea. And
Wow.
she was really mean about it. And I remember my manager said, "You don't really know, like, it happens, it's okay, but we also don't know what she's going through. For all we know, she could be going through a divorce, or like having drama with someone and just taking it out on you." And I think that really kind of, stood in my mind for many years later, obviously. But I think, what it really taught me looking back was that just because we're having a bad day, it's not okay to take it out on someone else. And even if we do, then, you know, we should apologize and understand that that's not fair to the other person, because we're basically perpetuating the cycle of unkindness and meanness, and people take it out. But also, more importantly, we need to have more compassion. And I think that with the eclipses in Pisces and Virgo, that's something that we all can really take away from the past month, is that we need to have more empathy for ourselves and for what other people are going through.
You're for sure right.
Yeah.
And I also, just touching on your story about your serving experience, as someone who still works in hospitality, I think it's really unfair and shitty of people who come into establishments and treat the staff like crap, because you're basically like, you know what you're doing because you're having a bad time and you're taking it out on somebody who is essentially held hostage by their position. They're
Mm-hmm.
there to work, and it's service work, customer service. So you know that part of their job is to be amenable to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you know they can't defend themselves in any real way without risking their job. So to me, that's like super ugly,
Yeah.
to be one of those people who comes in and does that. It shows like a really bad lack of character, in my opinion. So
Well, at another job I had a really obnoxious customer, and she accused me and my friend of my colleague of talking about her, and we really were just talking about our boss. We were talking about her, and I
We were
was
shit
just
talking
we were
somebody else,
whispering, and
ma'am.
I'm like, oh my god! I was like, she's coming. Like, let me know if she's outside. And the person was sitting by the window, but I was trying to gauge when my boss was going to be there. I mean, truth, too long don't read note or listen. My other coworker was smoking a cigarette outside, and I'm like, oh, she's going to totally come and be crazy because not all of us are here. But this person came at me really, hot. And when I told them what was going on after they yelled at me and my coworker, and I gave them more compassion, their total vibe shifted as well. So,
Kill them with kindness.
yeah, like we said before, it's Libra season. Kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
That's true. More flies with honey. I don't know
Oh.
why I want flies in the first place.
No.
That saying always confuses me. I was like, we don't want flies.
Yeah, what is the saying again? It's
You attract more flies with honey.
Yeah.
but yeah, we don't want flies when you think about it. Isn't it bees?
Is it bees?
Okay, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Well, I think it's bees, but flies are just equal, so
Oh.
I get it.
Flies will come are attracted
Flies,
to
bees,
literally anything.
cockroaches.
No,
I get
no
it.
cockroaches,
No, don't say
Lisa. No cockroaches. Oh my god. Okay. We always like to ask our guests, what do you resonate with the most in your synastry with other people? So, like, you could be a favorite sign, favorite planetary placement. Like, what do you find you're most drawn to when you are making friends or entertaining a romantic partner, Elisa?
Um, Interesting question. I'm trying to think. I think it's interesting because I would say, like my Venus in Cancer really needs to be with people that make me feel safe and really just, I like having that, day to day routine, you know what I mean, with people. That's such a Gemini thing, right? I feel like I like having, like I like I like the predictability sometimes. So I think that I'm really drawn to people where there's more predictability. So I think that for me, I would say that it's interesting. It really depends. So, sometimes I think that I would say like it's more of, I want to say, a lunar energy that I'm people's lunar energy that I'm really more in tune with.
Okay.
I just pick up on it. I have a lot of friends that have moon in Cancer. I have a lot of friends that have moon in Taurus, and I think that, or moon in Virgo, so I always pick up on that, or even moon in Capricorn. So, I'm always looking for that kind of, energy.
Stable and reliable, it sounds like.
Yes.
That's just what a Gemini needs to be crazy.
That's true. You need your space to
I need
have your
my rock who will
magic.
just accept me for who I am.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Do you have a favorite sign, Lisa? Or do we like everybody equally? Or is there one that you're like, no, they're my favorite?
I like everybody equally. I mean, I've dated every single zodiac sign, and you know, it's so funny because every zodiac sign does live up to their, potential and qualities and what I've seen. So I would say, like, the one sign, I guess, like, I would never probably date another Gemini. I mean, I have, but I feel like it's too much of myself, or I've been in a I've been in a long-term relationship with a Libra who I lived with, by the way, and it was really interesting because I think their sun, moon, and Venus and rising were in Libra, and their Mars was in Libra. They like had all this
Oh,
Libra
God.
energy. And I think the thing that used to drive me bonkers was that they would do the same thing every day. Like wake up at the same time, eat the same thing for breakfast, drive to work at the same time. Um, what else did they do? They would eat the same thing for dinner. They would even
No.
cut the cheese for their salad the same way.
Wow.
So that was like for me, like I think like too much Libra because I think all their planets were in Libra. I think they had like 5 planets in Libra, and I think that when you date when you have a stellium, you can be really stubborn. So I can be stubborn too. So they were like a stubborn Libra. So it was definitely interesting, but that was kind of a lot of mirroring myself because I'm kind of the same way too, low key. So I would say that I don't know, everyone has their attributes and everyone has their bad quality, I guess. I don't even want to say bad. I think, their shadow side. So
That's a little bit scary. Like, that's a lot. I'm kind of all over the place as far as like my birth chart goes. So whenever I see people with stelliums, I get scared. I'm like, that's really intense.
Yeah, it's very intense, strong energy for sure.
yeah, depending how you use it. I mean, I have a stellium in Virgo, so I just tend to be try to be more agreeable, but then there are some things that I just double down on. And it's like the randomest things ever, but I just double down on the randomest things. So, but then sometimes I just don't care. So,
It's
I'm
probably
just like go with the
surprising.
flow. It's all good, you know. But as I say, I only really begin to care about things when people make me care about them. So, I mean, I care, but you know what I mean. It's like when people, are like, why aren't your daily posts up on time on Instagram? And I'm like, you're right. Like, I should have woken up an hour earlier. I'm sorry. So, but I try to accommodate everyone. So I would say, we all have that parts of ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, you seem like you're just so sweet and just so like compassionate, and then just also just like, yeah, you're like everybody is loved like equally. I don't know. I think that's a really nice thing, because as much as I love astrology, sometimes we always wander on the side where they're like rank the best to the worst signs ever, the best signs to date, and you're just like, no, everybody has something great and to offer too. Like, and like we said
And
earlier in
it
the
depends
episode,
on you and them, not just
yeah,
them. It has
yes,
a lot
I
to
mean,
do.
it's like my best friend since I was 3 years old. She's a Cancer, and she has her moods and she has her Cancerian stuff going on where she's in a good mood and 2 minutes later she's not, and if in 2 minutes later she is. But having said that, okay, like she's a moody crab, but also she's also very loyal. So I think that we have to kind of understand that we're all composed of different qualities and different vibes, and sometimes we're in a bad mood ourselves and going through stuff, and sometimes we're just chilling. And I think that we all have our good things. I mean, Virgos are really patient until they're not. I know that because I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. And, and they're really patient, which is great. But then, the other side is that Virgos, like they like to do a lot of work and like they are really hard on themselves. So, or maybe like hard on other people depending on what they're feeling. And we all have stuff going on in our charts, and we're more than just the one planet or the one sun sign, because don't forget that when you're looking at a chart, you're looking at what house they fall in, how they interact with other planets, what they're doing, so it's a whole thing, so like for me, I have Neptune on my moon, so yeah, like I've always been really sensitive and really sympathetic, and I want to understand people. I want to get to the problem. I want to remedy it. I want to heal myself and others. And, you know, I can be hard on myself because of the Virgo stuff, and harder on myself than I can be on others. And I've learned that the one thing that we all need to do in life is to be, like I said before, more compassionate with ourselves and with others, because we're all just trying to get through the day. So, trying to just deal with we're just trying to get through life. And if we put the bullshit aside, we can have an amazing experience.
I love that. And honestly, too, guys, it's if you are just getting to astrology, or even if you're not, like it is beneficial to learn about all of the signs, because like we mentioned earlier again in the episode, like you are all of the signs. You have all of that energy plays a part in your birth chart. So it really is helpful for you to, yes, learn about the sign that you don't like, or the one that you know nothing about. It's not just about your sun sign, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what I said before is that sometimes we're mirroring that energy, and that's real. Like with the Gemini, it's like sometimes it's hard to take a good look at ourselves and our actions and just try to understand what we're how to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, we are coming to the end of our episode. So, Lisa, we are going to ask you to let us know, and our followers and listeners, where we can find you. I'm sure you need no introduction, but you have a couple of projects. So, where can we find you?
You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Lisa Stardust Astro, and onto all of my TMs, or I try to. So connect with me, please. I love to talk to everyone, and you can, always Google me to find out my articles and to check out my work. And I'd love for, I also do readings if you'd like to book a session as well.
Amazing. I have read your articles, Lisa, and you are a great writer. So, and we're so happy to have you. We're so happy to have you on the show.
Yes, another New Yorker friend.
I know you guys are so awesome. You guys are
And
so
funny.
funny and just talkative and just so warm. Oh my god, I this not only was this episode so informational, so like thank you again so much for all the knowledge you shared with us, but like girl, that banter before the episode was great.
You're hilarious. I actually can't. I'm so pissed off that I didn't record it, but I'm glad that it happened.
Yes, yeah. Oh my god.
What about us?
Guys, make sure to come find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok, Winestrology Pod. Also email us if you guys have any questions or anything you want us to cover on the episode. You can email us at hello@winestrology.com. And guys, just give us some love. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And Lisa, thank you again so much for being here.
Yeah.
It was awesome chatting with you. And as usual, guys, stay tipsy.
Stay tipsy.